people know that we're going live. And I gotta open up the soundboard, and then we'll be good to go. We're going live. And I gotta mute my Twitch. And I gotta open up the soundboard, and then we'll be good. Guess it didn't auto-mute. Grumble, grumble. Alright. Get that. Soundboard. Alright. Well, we'll see whether or not Slambo shows up on Monday. Or, you know, maybe he'll send us another message from the Abyss.
How long's it been?
I've lost track. It's been far too long.
He's hit guest appearance status.
I'll let him know that. You have been demoted to you know, guest spots at this point.
Guest appearance.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure he will be enthused. Okay, got that. I can shrink that. Alright, let me post over here in the places.
So I didn't watch the Shock game last night.
What?
I wake up at 5:30 for work.
As do I.
So I was just like, yeah, no, I'm going to bed.
Mm-hmm.
But Shock won 3-1.
They did. They looked really good. And I can tell you why they did so good is because they actually have a Sombra player. Dante is actually shown the only legitimate Sombra so far.
You mean Munchkin is not a legitimate
No.
Sombra?
On
No?
that team, no. Fleta is the Sombra player. But, you know, they didn't run it. Among other things. I don't get it. Alright. Yeah. That is all of the places. Okay, you got that. Did I tweet out that we're going live yet? No. Let me do that now.
Always forget about the Twitter sphere.
Not always. I was on top of it with the question.
This week you were?
This
Okay.
week, yeah. We've actually gotten a ton of responses on Twitter already.
Probably because they're just like, we've been waiting for this for like 3 weeks.
I don't think that's what it is. That's definitely not it. I don't care what you say. All right, I am good to go.
Same.
All right, so let me just pull the camera back up, and we'll be good. All right, let's do a show.
Yay!
Woo! All right, started now.
You are listening to Heroes Never Die, your one-stop spot for all the latest news, Overwatch League results, and mishaps in Overwatch. Here are your hosts, Totemly Drunk and Edinar.
What is up, guys, and welcome to Heroes Never Die. I am your host, Totemly Drunk, and tonight is episode 105. So, it's been a pretty busy week. We had the Overwatch League stage sign-in window kind of come to a close. There's been a ton of movement, a ton of shifts. We've seen a lot of event hype within Overwatch as we kind of broke last week that, you know, we do an event coming out next week, and we got a ton of details on that we need to get right into. But before we get into the news, I gotta introduce you to my co-host, and that is Edinar. Edinar, you know, we're recording when your team is playing, kind of like what happened to me yesterday, and unfortunately, it doesn't look like your situation is any better than what I had to go through, but we did get to see Blizzard World played for the first time in the Overwatch League, much to the dismay of many, and it was definitely rough around the edges, especially on Point B.
Yeah, it was. So I'm going to start off by saying this. Yes, Florida's going to go 4-0. We're supposed to go 4-0 against Excelsior. Seoul's not supposed to go 0-4 against Los
It's the
Angeles.
story of the Valiant. They either 4-0 or get 4-0'd.
But yeah,
It was the wrong way.
we watched Blizzard World, and that was brutal to watch.
Mm-hmm.
That is just not a good map at all. Like I mean, New York outplayed Florida, obviously, but even when Florida was on offense and defense, it was ugly. It was ugly. But your boy for the Florida Mayhem is playing right now.
What?
Seiya got put in.
Are you
Seiya
serious?
player just got put in for Logic, so it's
That
it's
just
good-
figures. I was like, okay, we're gonna wait until after Blizzard World to start our recording, and I was waiting for Saya player to get put into the game, and sure enough, he has to be playing now. I see how it is.
I mean, he did get put in probably because Logic's killed himself more times than he probably killed opponents on the last map. I think he killed
fair
himself with 3 tracer bombs, with his own tracer bomb 3 times. So I believe they probably are just like, sit. You're
Yeah,
sitting.
he also had that moment where he was kind of in slow-mo when there was a self-destruct coming, and he went for a pulse bomb, and then he just kind of stood there instead of getting out of the way. So that was a thing.
Yeah. So, but no, I'm excited. Overwatch League, we had the longest week and a half ever, because I was just like, oh, I have nothing to watch Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. What am I gonna do? And then all the TMZ drama started. But yeah, it was fun. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed matches yesterday. I'm enjoying the match so far today, even though we're losing. But how's your week been?
It's been pretty busy. I mean, I know I've not had Overwatch League, but I had a ton of stuff to cover for contenders for the back cap, and we had like 18 total games to cover within the last week, so we had a ton of stuff to kind of view, just because of how the scheduling was laid out. But we are nearing the playoff structure of contenders. It's only 5 weeks, and we got a couple weeks worth of playoffs. So really, we're starting to see the playoffs start to take shape. And there's been some surprises in regards to kind of who is sitting atop. Potentially getting the number 1 seed, especially in Europe. We have Eagle Gaming, who kind of going in, they competed in Pit Championship Europe and didn't really do so hot, and it's looking like they're going to go 5-0 and get that number 1 seed for Europe. So they did have kind of an easier schedule compared to some of the other teams, but they've been a pleasant surprise. But really, Contenders EU has been kind of surreal, because that has been one of the closest contested regions, just in general. I mean, it's been like that in the past too, but it's still true to this day. And we've seen a lot of quad tank, much to the dismay of a lot of people. I'm really not a fan. But we're not always seeing Sombra in every game like we were in the past, because, eventually the pro teams kind of caught on to the fact that Sombra's not as OP as, they felt like she would be, and now I'm kind of getting flashbacks of early contenders, because, as you know, in Overwatch League right now, we're on the Sombra patch for Stage 3, and a lot of teams are trying to run Sombra, and only one team, that being the San Francisco Shock, has actually shown to have a pretty damn good Sombra in Dante, but everyone else has been, for lack of a better term, pretty lackluster.
I mean, I thought Soul would have a really good Sombra in Flood.
Not when Flood is not
he's
on.
really good at DPSing that Flood. He should be a good one.
Now, that being said, I
Sore
don't know.
spot.
I don't know if you've been on my Twitter, but during the first series yesterday, I sent out a tweet and I'm like, okay, teams are going to live and die by the Sombra. And then later in the night, I'm like, I should just leave this stickied the entire stage, because I just have that feeling that everyone's gonna be like, oh, Sombra's so great, she's Tracer Light. I can just hack an EMP 18 billion people and, still be able to, get in, get the kill, back out with the Translocator with the extra duration, and it's been pretty sloppy across the board so far outside of the shock. So I don't know if, the teams are going to get better, or they'll just come to the realization that Sombra just isn't as good as they hoped she would be. But for now, I'm just going to have to deal with seeing all the Sombra, as much as I don't like to see it. But let's go ahead and jump into the news. We can talk more about Overwatch League when we get into the Around the League stuff. So let's start off by talking about the event. Last week, it kind of like broke out that we had an event coming out on April 10th, which is next week. And, they've been in pretty much full hype force in regards to the Overwatch archives, and we did get a new digital comic to kind of hype up the new Brawl that is coming out. That is Retribution. So, basically, this comic follows an attack that was on Overwatch's facilities in Oslo, Norway. And it follows Blackwatch. So Blackwatch gets some intel points to one of Talon's high-ranking members who goes by the name of Antonio. So another new name, don't really know too much about him. But we do gain some more insight into Gabriel Reyes before, he becomes Reaper. Now, during this attack, this is the attack that seriously injures Overwatch agent Gerard LeCroux, who, Widowmaker's husband. Back in the day, when he was still alive. But, he was the one that operated these operations against Talon, and, this was one of many unsuccessful attempts that Talon had made to, kill him, basically. And this was before, Widowmaker got brainwashed to, do the deed for Talon. Now, we see that, in this particular comic, because, this is before Soldier 76 was known as Soldier 76. This was back when he was Jack Morrison. He wants to do everything by the books. Gabriel Reyes, on the other hand, not so much. It's not working. He says that, and, he does have his own way of going about things, and, it kind of, leads off with the whole, well, what they don't realize is I don't play by the rules either. Because everyone just assumes that, Reyes is going to have to uphold to at least the code for Overwatch, but that's not what they're going to get with Blackwatch in itself. But I just want to get your thoughts. What did you think of this comic? And, how hyped up are you for Retribution now that, we have the comic? We've got some more details, which we'll talk about with the trailer that dropped yesterday during the Overwatch League games. What were your thoughts on the comic?
Well, the comic was probably my favorite so far because it gives the most lore that we've seen in a comic, I think. At least the most important lore. Because, I mean, this comic book is the start of Blackwatch. And everyone wanted to know more about Blackwatch, and we really knew nothing. We didn't know why, Reyes, went over, started doing Black Ops, stuff like that, and now we know why. So this is kind of like the origin story of Blackwatch, and I think that's what people really wanted, and they gave it to us finally. Yeah, we got 2 new characters, 1 Antonio, or 3 new characters. So we have Antonio and Gerard. Well, we knew about Gerard, but the bomber, I don't know who the bomber was.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, that's all interesting things. You get to see, Reyes. They're trying to humanize Reyes as, he's trying to do what's right by his friends and by all that stuff, but he's not doing it in the right way, so he's taking matters into his own hand. So I liked the comic. It was better than the majority of them. I'm excited for the event. I'm not excited for when we had this event last year with Uprising. I like the actual event where you had a set list of characters,
right? Rather than
the Tracer. Yeah, the all heroes I don't like because it's just you get the most spammy characters you have. Get your Roadhog, get your Soldier, get your Bastion, get your Torbjorn, and you're good to go. Whereas this, it forces you to actually play the event and use some knowledge. And I mean, it looks like if I was a gambling man, and I am. I'm assuming it's going to be McCree, Moira, Genji, and Reaper.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe someone else thrown in there as a fifth. I don't know. Maybe Widowmaker. I have no idea, but those four at least, and I like that. So, because it doesn't have a turret. Turrets just make those game modes less fun. Like, it's like, hey, we're going to go ahead and not aim at anything and just go that route. This actually, like, hey, I'm going to actually aim. So, I will be picking McCree in every single time I do this. And possibly Moira, and I will never play Genji. Because I'm the world's worst. I'm the world's worst Genji. And I have zero interest in getting good at Genji. So, but yeah, no, I'm super excited for it. It goes on for 20 days, I think it was.
Yeah, it was the 10th through the 30th.
Yeah, we don't know all the skins that are coming out, but these aren't the best skins. These are kind of just blah skins. The ones that we did see. Like, I think we saw a Reaper one, and the Widowmaker one, and the McCree one. And it was just like, all right, they're in all black.
Well,
cool.
They are Blackwatch, so kind
yeah,
of
I'm like, oh, that's cool, but
mm-hmm.
it's kind of boring. Like, I mean, when you look at the preview, look at the Halloween ones, the Christmas one, the summer game ones. Like, those are more fun and interesting. If I wanted a black one, I'd actually just wear the Overwatch League gray ones. So, but I'm excited nonetheless because I think they'll get some. I think they'll sneak some good ones in there.
Oh, absolutely. And, as I mentioned yesterday during the Overwatch League broadcast, our dad and savior, Papa Jeffy Capcap, praise him, took to the stage for that special announcement, which was the unveiling of the Retribution trailer, which Retribution is the new PvE brawl. And as you mentioned, that does feature Moira, Genji, McCree, and Reaper. And, this is part of the Overwatch Archives, which is the event. So, we'll get to find out more details about what went wrong in Venice. This is basically the mission where Reyes starts to become Reaper. So, this is when he starts to transition into, the bad guy, essentially. But everything with this brawl is going to take place on a new map, which is Rialto. And what's great about this is the fact that after the event, Rialto is going to serve as a new escort map in the game. So
yes,
this is going to be something that's going to be in the game from now on, basically, which is pretty cool, which is something that we really haven't seen. Normally, these seasonal event type things are, they're there one time a year, and then, poof, they're gone. Not so much with this one. So, because of that, testing for this map is going to be hitting a PTR before the event. I don't know if it's up yet. Maybe they might be dropping it over the weekend. I don't know. But, they did tease a new Reaper skin for Soldier 24, and that was basically Gabriel Reyes' alias in the Super Soldier program. But, I'm looking forward to this. We got to see kind of like a preview with some of the, mob types that are going to be coming in this event. And there was one in particular that was, really badass. It was, this female assassin that had, double blades, on her forearms, which looked fucking amazing. I can't wait to see what that is going to entail. But, I'm just really happy to get more of the lore behind Blackwatch. And I just want to see, what exactly what makes Gabriel really make that transition? Was it something that actually happened during that event, or was it just the fact that, he knew that, Jack Morrison wasn't willing to go with that extra mile when they really needed to in order to, have a big enough impact where it would stop Talon in this situation?
Yeah, I mean, my prediction is he goes full on Reaper, and it has something to do with the death of Gerard by his wife. Spoiler? No, that's not a spoiler.
It's not really a spoiler. Everyone should.
It's not a spoiler at this point. It's we've known this for a while, but I think that whole situation of events leads to Reaper becoming Reaper, and joining Talon. Or joining forces with Talon. So I think that's all fine and dandy. I like the Papa Jeffy Cap announcement. I like the new shirt that they rocked.
Mm-hmm.
The new Black Watch shirt, that was pretty cool. I was not expecting a new permanent map, but when I look back, I was like, well, yeah. I mean, it's about that time where we get a new map, probably. Blizzard Watch has been out for a while and screwed the pooch on that one. And, I mean, I don't know. I'm interested. A Rome map will be pretty cool. What is it? They said it's going to be a payload map.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, that would make our 6th payload map? Yeah, I think it'd be our 6th one.
I don't have the maps offhand.
Yeah, it would be our 6th because we would have Dorado, Junkertown, Route 66, Gibraltar, and then Blizzard World. So this would be our 6th payload map, which is kind of crazy. So another chance for us not to get Blizzard World as a comp match. So I'm excited for this.
Oh, Blizzard World's a hybrid.
Oh, it is a hybrid. All right, never mind.
5.
Scratch that. All right. Reverse. So, but yeah, no, I'm excited. We should be seeing it on the PTR quite soon.
Yeah, if not today, then definitely over the weekend. But, speaking of stuff that will be hitting PTR soon, TM is the Hanzo rework. This is something that we've kind of talked about in the past, but we do have a little bit more details. I mean, we don't have like a ton of details, but we do know that Scattershot is on the outs. They are completely getting rid of Scattershot. Thank you, Papa Jeff. Thank God.
Second worst ability, third worst ability to ever be in the game.
So as a tank player, you no longer have to worry about getting one shot if they aim at your feet and them hitting your head.
It was all right. There's 2 other abilities that were worse than this in the game. One was OG Bastion with the shield in front of him, his own personal shield.
Right.
That's PTR days. The second worst is the Mass Res by Mercy. And then third is Scattershot. Like, if you're playing a shooting game and you have an ability that encourages you not to shoot at the person, that's not a good mechanic in a game. So nothing could make me happier than getting Scattershot out of there.
So, what is replaced in Scattershot? Well, it is Rapid Shot. So, really not a whole lot of details was shared by Jeff Kaplan in regards to Rapid Shot, but we do know, I mean, as the name would imply, this is going to increase the speed of Hanzo's arrows. So, this rework for Hanzo is on schedule for a PTR release later this month. So, maybe same time as when they drop the map, maybe shortly after, I don't know on that front, but, Kaplan did say that it's intentional with how obvious it is when Hanzo is using the ability, so enemy players need to know when he's using it for it to be fair. So, I want to get your prediction on this. When it comes to the speed increase, when it comes to Rapid Shot, what do you think the speed increase percentage is going to be?
I'm predicting it to be something along the lines of, I think the best way I can describe it is, think Diva's missiles. Slightly slower than that for 5 seconds. So you're going to shoot arrows super quick for like 5 seconds, and then it's over. So it's kind of one of those move to the left or right when you see it. You'll know when you see it coming because the picture they showed, it's quite obvious. It's shiny and blue. You're going to see it coming, but he's going to shoot a bunch of arrows at you for, I'd say, 5 seconds. Rapidly. Like Diva's missiles. So I think it's going to be something like that. I think it's a nice change. I think it will give him some burst potential instead of having to, kind of wind up and shoot. Um, it will be good. I like it as because when you got rid of scatter arrow, if you were getting closed on by somebody like a flanker, your only ability to get out of there or to defend yourself was scatter shot.
Mm-hmm.
So once you get rid of scatter shot, they need something to fend off flankers, and this could fend off flankers because you're able to get all those shots off super quick. And like, oh, Tracer, I'm gonna destroy your face with arrows. So, and not, hey, Tracer, I'm gonna destroy your face by shooting at the wall. Something like that.
Or their feet, but yeah.
Or their feet.
So when I look at this, okay, so I come from a World of Warcraft background, so there's a hunter spell called Rapid Fire, and if I remember correctly, I want to say like the haste percentage that you got from it was like 40%.
Yep.
15 seconds, or it was like something along those lines. So if I translate that to Overwatch, I would expect maybe. This is a tough one. I would expect it to be between that 20 and 30% range, but I don't expect it to be for like 15 seconds. Maybe like 8 to 10 at the very most. But it has to be to the case where this ability is also going to increase the speed of all of his arrows, and not just like his individual shots. I mean, that would make the most sense. But other than that, Jeff Kaplan did mention that the Sonic arrow cooldown is significantly faster, while the radius and duration has been slightly reduced. So, there's also a couple more tweaks outside of just the replaced ability overall. But, I was having a good laugh at this, so I'm like, okay, so I was having a debate with the other Overwatch League Network hosts. I'm like, okay, so we know that we're getting a rapid shot. Now, does that mean that I'm going to average out and get more hits per, minute? Or does that mean that I'm just going to miss indefinitely based on how fast I'm shooting? I don't know where exactly I'm going to be. I feel like there's not going to be any middle ground when it comes to my Hanzo play, just because I am garbage tier. So I don't know where I'm gonna sit on this one, but I am curious to see whether or not it makes me a better Hanzo if I can just streamline my shots a bit more in quick succession.
I mean, it's with the randomness of his hitbox. I think it's gonna make people better because you have the ability to get 4 I didn't aim but I hit a headshot anyway shots. Like, I could honestly see them reducing the damage of the arrow when this ability is going on. For that exact reason. Because, you could honestly wipe out an entire team, like with Zarya. Let's say Zarya's Graviton. With this, you could probably wipe out an entire team using, an E ability.
Right.
So I can see them reducing the damage of this, so maybe your trash Hanzo will stay trash. I don't think you stand a chance at getting any better at him.
Okay, so just to put this in perspective, guys, kind of going back to early release days, back when Hanzo not only had scatter shot, but also had logs for arrows, essentially, I was still terrible with him. So keep that in mind, when I'm trying to decide where exactly I'm going to fall in the line here. But I'm pretty sure I'm not going to improve at all. But it's hard to say because I'm so used to playing hit scan and tracer, so I'm used to seeing that burst attacks coming out. So I don't know if that's just going to translate to rapid shot, or if I'm just going to be terrible regardless, just because it is Hanzo and he is by far my worst character in the game. But I will definitely be checking out the PTR when it does hit, just so I can, see where exactly I'm going to be with Hanzo. But, I am not very optimistic. I don't think that this is going to improve my Hanzo play. If anything, I'm just gonna miss maybe, well, depending on what the cooldown is and how long the duration is, maybe, 1.25, maybe 1.5 times as many shots as it did in the past. I don't know. But what I do know is that there's a new statue that is up for pre-order on the Blizzard Gear Store, and this is one that I have to talk about because, kind of if you know the name of this podcast, you should know who the new statue's for, and it's for Mercy. We finally have a Mercy statue. Mercy's the next Overwatch hero getting a statue. It costs a little bit more than some of the other ones. So, some of the other ones outside of the D.Va one, which is by far the most expensive one, because it is the largest one, all of the other ones were $150 minus D.Va. The Mercy one is $175. Pre-orders for this went up live today. It will ship in Q4 of 2018. And the statue is like 14 inches tall. It has, Mercy with her outstretched arms and wings spread. She has her Valkyrie suit as well as her healing staff. And I absolutely had to pre-order. I felt somewhat obligated, I'll be honest. I mean, Mercy was my first main in Overwatch just because I did transition from a healer role in other genres, so Mercy was really my go-to initially, and obviously now, I can basically fill whatever, but, because we are Heroes Never Die, I'm like, I can't not get this statue, because this has really been the one that I've been waiting for, outside of maybe the Zenyatta one, whenever it does come out, but I had to get it. I don't know what your thoughts are on this one, but I know, I'm pretty sure Spider already pre-ordered his, but not a fan?
I mean, no, I think it's awesome they're coming out with statues. I am not a Mercy fan, just purely out of spite. I mean,
you need to go.
So I have nothing against healers in the game. I have everything against the res mechanic of healers in the game, and that leads to my hatred of Mercy. Because I'm like, oh, sweet, I just got an awesome headshot. Oh, never mind. Mercy's there. Negate this cool shot I did. But no, with all that aside, I mean, it's a pretty cool statue. I've heard some people say, oh, I wish we could have had the what is her Halloween costume called?
The Witch Mercy one.
The Witch Mercy.
Right.
If it could have been the Witch Mercy statue. I'm like, that would be cool. As if because they're when they do these statues, they're doing the generic skin.
They might maybe they'll look at that after they do all the releases. I don't know. I mean, obviously, that would be a huge thing to, get more money out of people. And I mean, let's be honest. I mean, people are going to keep throwing money no matter what.
Yeah. I mean, well, if we wait for them to release all of them, that means we're going to be waiting about 4 more years.
Yeah, we're going to constantly be behind just due to the release schedule and how quickly these are coming out, at least for the statues.
So, I mean, I like this. I like it. I am not going to buy it. Just because it's not one of my playable characters. I mean, if I was to buy a statue, I would buy the Widowmaker statue.
That one is really good too.
I mean, I would really want to buy the D.Va one, but I am not shelling out $450 for a statue. I'm like, hey, here's half my rent to a D.Va statue. So I'll wait. I'll wait. I think the only one is if they ever come out with a Junkrat Roadhog combo statue. I would buy that. I would pre-order the hell out of that.
Okay.
So, but yeah, no, I mean, this is awesome. I didn't see it coming, but you hardly ever do see statues coming. They'll probably release another one around BlizzCon. Because that's, I mean, 6 months, 7 months? I don't know. They haven't announced it yet.
And speaking of which, Blizzard, what the hell? It is
How have they not announced it?
It's around, it's past the time when they normally announced it. They need to get on top of it. I know there's a bunch of hype with, the new Warcraft expansion and, this upcoming event for Overwatch and StarCraft's big anniversary, but guys, come on. We have a ton of people that are waiting to book hotels, really, and, traditionally it's, that first weekend of November. Some people still do the second one just as a backup, because, it's reservations you can basically just cancel whenever. But, people want to plan this stuff out just so they can get everything situated and ready to go. But, we're still waiting.
I can't go this year, mainly because I already have trips planned to Vegas, where I can
Me
go
too.
and
I'm
punch.
just going after.
Where I can go and I can punch Slambo in the face.
Yeah, you could.
That's my goal.
That's all
but-
you should do when you're in Vegas.
And check out the new esports arenas there.
At Luxor, right?
Yep, at Luxor. We're not staying at the Luxor.
No, I wouldn't either.
No, Luxor has some good rooms.
It depends where you are.
The
I
trick
guess.
is
Not to
you
get to the
can't
pyramid.
actually stay in the pyramid.
Right. That's what I've been told too.
Yeah, do not ever stay in the pyramid at Luxor. stay in one of the newer rooms, and you're golden. But check that place out. There's an awesome downtown Vegas esports arena area that's pretty cool. But I'm gonna be going there, so I can't go to California for BlizzCon. So I'm thinking next year I might make it out for BlizzCon.
Or just do both.
Well, all right. So I go to Vegas a couple times a year.
Oh, I gotcha.
So I'll go to Vegas in the beginning of the year, and
Then you
I'll
go
to
after BlizzCon.
If I'm going out there, I'm going to BlizzCon. I'm going to Disneyland. I'm going to. I'm sure they have Harry Potter World out there, don't they?
Yeah.
I'm gonna go to that. And then I might drive to Vegas, and then stop at every In-N-Out burger on the way. I don't care. I'm gonna eat at every In-N-Out burger I see. Like, hey, we just ate 10 minutes ago. Yeah, but we're coming up on an In-N-Out burger. I have to stop. So, yeah, no, I'm shocked they have not announced anything. So, yeah, that will be a lot of fun though.
It has to be soon. All right, but getting back on track, guys. Let's go ahead and kind of shift gears. Let's go around the league and see what's going on within the Overwatch League. Obviously, we were, in the break period, but we had a ton of news kind of hit in regards to player sign-ins. I know some of them we've covered in the past, so I want to go over the newer ones. And there's a ton of them because there were trades and transfers and whatnot. But first, we do have a change to the playoff structure for the stage. So, this is the second time we've seen kind of a restructure of the playoffs, because, before they had everything happening on that Saturday, both, the end of the regular, part of the stage, and then having the playoffs for the stage, and then, you ran into London having to play 14 maps, which was absolutely absurd. Granted, they still won, but, that's besides the point. That was a lot to ask of anyone, and the fatigue definitely was real, and it did take some of the hype out of the playoffs because of that. So, they made the switch from Saturday, so having it on Sunday, that's for Stage 2. Well, for Stage 3, they are adding another team to the playoffs, so now it's going to be the top 4 teams qualifying for the stage playoffs. So, basically what is going to happen is, so the top seed is no longer going to have a bye to the finals like they did in the past, and the top seeded team will be able to select their first round opponent. Now, this is something that we've kind of seen in the past, in some of the Overwatch tournaments, and at times, this can come back to bite you in the ass. So, choose wisely, New York. Because more than likely, New York's still doing pretty good, regardless of Sombra or no Sombra. Whatever meta is going to transition towards. But that top seed will play the first game on the stage finals for Sunday. And there's been no change to the tiebreakers, but I want to get your thoughts. How do you feel about them expanding the playoffs a little bit more to give another team an opportunity to make the playoffs, or potentially just further chances for teams to blow their chances at the playoffs? Because it kind of goes both ways.
Yeah, okay. So they should have been at 4 teams all along. Let's only have 3 and give the first strong team a bye. No, don't do that. So I think it was smart for them to go to 4 teams. What they're doing with the 4 teams, I hate.
Okay.
I hate the fact that the first place team gets to pick what team they go up against.
Do you think it should just be 1 versus 4 and 2
1
3?
versus 4, 2 versus 3. I don't like that because yes, it adds strategeryism yes, I said strategism, to picking, but it's also kind of it's a slap in the face. Like, all right, so let's say the top 4 teams in last stage were New York, London, Philadelphia, and Seoul. I think Seoul finished 4th, right?
Mm-hmm. That's correct.
So more than likely, Seoul would have been like, well, we don't want to fight Seoul or London. So Philadelphia, you're the shittiest team here. Obviously, they weren't in the long run because they beat London, but like going in, it's like I just don't like it. Can you think of like the NFL playoffs where the number 1 seed's like, oh yeah, no, we want to play this team,
Mhm.
or the NBA playoffs, like no, we want to play this team, not go by record. It's just it's weird and not needed. 1v4, 2v3. It's been like that for however long these playoff brackets have been going on in any form of sports. And adding it's kind of like by going against the norm of 1v4, 2v3, from the outside perspective, it's like, see, they can't even get, like, they want to be recognized as like a traditional real sport, but they can't even follow the traditional guidelines. They have to make up these weird rules for no apparent reason. Like, there's no justification for one being able to pick who they're going up against. I couldn't be more adamant about how much I dislike this. It's I don't know. I may be in the minority, and I'm positive I am. But yeah, how do you feel about it?
I'm kind of indifferent about it. I want to see how it kind of plays out first. Because, when you look at, like, some of the matches that could occur, I'll use London and Seoul, for example, because this is the clearest night and day difference when it comes to teams right now. So let's say London gets the top seed. Well, they know that they've beaten Seoul the past 16 maps, so that will automatically be their pick, regardless of who else is going to be, in the available pool to pull from, basically. So I don't know, like, I think everyone's just so accustomed to just things being more set in stone, but really, I need to see how it plays out. But we have seen how the league is listening to the community, in some aspects at least. We've seen it kind of evolve over time, so, who knows, maybe in Stage 4 we will see the 1v4, 2v3 type setup. But, really, it's too early to tell. We need to see how things are going to pan out before I can really hold, like, full judgment on this overall. But that being said, there is another new thing that had hit for Stage 3, and that is the All Access Pass, which is, more Overwatch League content because, you know what, guys? You don't give Blizzard enough money, and you haven't dropped enough bits, you don't have enough Twitch emotes, or, the fancy, animations and whatnot. So, you can drop, $20 to $30, depending on whether or not you have Twitch Prime, to basically get, like, a virtual backstage pass. So, things that you need to know. Right now, the Access Pass is free until May 15th, so you get a pretty lengthy time to kind of check it out. But you do get some skins in-game for the League stuff. You get a Moira skin, you get a McCree skin, a Soldier 76 skin, you get, a player icon, a player spray, Twitch emotes, chat badges, and then you have basically what they're calling, like, a command center stream. So basically what this is, it's like an overlay, and there are different camera angles, which is kind of not what people were expecting, because it's I'll be honest, that aspect of it is kind of disappointing, because you're not getting, like, in-game player point of views like a lot of people want. Basically, you're getting, like, a camera on each team, basically. So you're seeing, like, a lined-up shot of them sitting at their seats for, like, the player POV. And I know that's not what people want, but you do get, like, live in-game stats displayed, which is pretty cool. But, like, there's no top-down, map view or anything like that, you don't have the ability to switch between the two different camera angles that they do show in-game, which is another thing that makes me kind of scratch my head. But, you know, you do also get a pass holder only chat room, which isn't quite as cancerous as the other Twitch chat, but it still kind of is. It's just a lesser extent of cancer than the Twitch chat.
The lesser of two evils.
Yes. It's better, but it's still Twitch chat. So bear in mind there was plenty of Tryhard7 spam in there, but they are doing like post-match player Q&As, and if you are a pass holder, you can submit a question for those Q&As. So this pass is good for the remainder of the season. This is going to be something that you're going to have to pay for every season. And I'll be straight up honest with you guys. I am not that impressed with the All Access Pass right now. This is not what I'm fully looking for. I'd be fine if I was given control of being able to switch what camera angle I wanted between the two that they do display. Like, I know, like, the tech required to have 12 different POVs for each player in-game for the client is a lot to ask for. Mm-hmm. So, like, I know we're probably a long way off. I know that's what a lot of people want. But even if we got, like, you know, one for each team on, like, one of the star DPS players or something like that, I'd be fine with it. I don't need all 12 players, but right now, I want the ability to switch between the two camera angles that they do give us, and also, like, not having the top-down view for the map is another big thing that makes me like, oh, this needs to be a thing. And I don't know where, like, the rest of the community sits with this. I know some people are really liking it. Some people aren't really liking it, but, like, for now, it's too static. There's not enough ways to control the command center right now. So I don't really feel like you do have any control. It's just, you know, you have what's there, and then that's it. You can't really maneuver around it or anything like that. But, you know, I'm sure you've seen some of the screenshots, or, you know, maybe you've already checked out the command center. What are your thoughts on the way that it's set up, and do you think that there needs to be more kind of added to that?
I think it's great in theory. It is phenomenal in theory, and I like it. It needs a lot of work. Like you said, I would love to, when you switch to the command center, to have almost a drop-down box on Twitch to be like, select the players in the game, and once you select a player, it goes to that personal point of view. I wish they did that. Now, they do, like you said, the split screen. One thing, and honestly, I am not a tech person at all. So I don't know how easy or impossible this is, but I like how so it's split screen. And on one screen, like you said, you have the match, and the other screen you're just showing the stage or the player sitting there, and that's pointless.
Right, or like the dugout during like halftime or something like that.
So what I would love to have is on the left-hand side. All right, so for instance, Mayhem versus Excelsior just happened. On the left side, you have whoever they're following on the Mayhem, and on the right side, you have whoever they're following on New York. And you can expand one or the other, or really just one or the other. So you get to choose between which point of view, whether you want to follow the New York Excelsior or you want to follow the Florida Mayhem. That way you don't have to bring it to, hey, we want to follow this person, this person, this person. Now it's just like, okay, we want to follow the Mayhem, we want to follow New York. But if they're split, it's still too small and too distracting between the two. So I want them to be able to expand one of the two to the full screen instead of showing them split side by side. This allows you to follow like the team you want to follow. Now, to delve into that a little further, is depending on which one you expand, you could also switch rooms. So you could have a home team Twitch chat and an away team Twitch chat. So you could, for this last match, you'd have the Mayhem Twitch chat. You'd have the New York Excelsior Twitch chat. And you'd be able to talk with, you know,
Your three
Mayhem
Mayhem
bands. Yeah. Hey, shut it.
I can't help
But
myself.
you know what I mean. It'd be cool. I don't know if it's feasible with Twitch and stuff like that, but it would be cool. I have not dived into the extra content they give with you yet, but I plan on doing that within the next few days to see kind of what that's all about and really dive into what it all is. You know, I went and checked out the skins you get. They are rather bland. They are just 3 gray Overwatch League skins for.
Right, it's basically what you would get for like the global unlocks.
Yeah. The player icon I actually am using right now. So yeah, I know I really like this. And you know, when you get Amazon Prime, $19.99. Now that's only for Stage 3, Stage 4, Finals, All-Star Weekend, which that's a whole different issue that I love. But it's, you know, I like this. This is smart. They probably are getting buttloads of money off of us for this. And it had its hiccups yesterday. But overall it went pretty smoothly. So yeah, no, I like this. I plan on getting this every season. Because yeah, I'm a sucker. I'm one of those people. I'm like, ooh, shiny.
I need
that.
it.
I want
Right.
that. So, yeah, no, I loved it. I really did.
Yeah.
I mean, the first thing I did, I read about it. I came home from work, logged onto the Overwatch League channel, and I bought it.
Yeah, basically what I saw is like, okay, like I get skins and more emotes that I could spam channels with. I'm like, I was gonna buy it just for that alone. So there's that. But
Oh
like
yeah, no.
the other thing that I have to talk about though is, you know, since we do top plays every week for Overwatch League Network, I have to clip a lot of plays, and I can't really do that in the control center because of how the way the overlay is set up, because I don't have the control of the camera. So I'm always having to switch back to the standard mode in order to clip the play and then having to switch back, and it's inconvenient for me in that regard as well. So, you know, that's just like another, you know, thing that's just been driving me a little bit up the wall about it, because like I need to do this stuff in order to have, you know, more YouTube content for our YouTube channel, and you know, I can't always rely on the great community of Reddit to clip the best plays. So, you know, there is that too.
Yeah, it's yeah. I can imagine as soon as you said, you're like, oh, we clip a bunch of plays. I'm like, oh, this is going to be amazing. Like, this is something, if you're a content maker for Overwatch, this is like your dream. Because, like, you have so much stuff to work with now. Like, I know John, oh, God, I will screw up his name. John Horsted?
Just call him
Horsted?
KT.
Yeah, KT. He does his, you know, daily show.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, this is the type of thing that, you know, he'll love.
Right.
So, I mean, yeah, this is what I want to dive more into is the not just the match, but the extra stuff.
Right. And as a side note, just because you did bring up Overwatch League Daily, they are doing a Contenders Daily show as well, which is debuting, I think, next week. So stay tuned on that. So more Tier 2 coverage as well. And, you know, John puts in so much work on his daily show as well. You know, 5 days a week. It's a lot. I don't know how he does it, but, like, just the overall quality is absolutely absurd. So if you're not listening to them, I cannot recommend his work enough, because it gets you primed pretty much every day of the week. So, yeah, definitely check them out if you aren't already, because it is must listen. And, yeah, you can pretty much find it anywhere. But, you know, we are at the end of the stage sign-in window, and there's been a lot of shakeups within the past week that we need to talk about. So there's a lot to kind of go through here. So I think the best way to do this is to maybe just go team by team.
Yeah,
So,
I mean,
so let's start.
There's a few.
Let's let's start with the trade. So there was a trade that was done between the Dallas Fuel and the Los Angeles Valiant, and they ended up exchanging support players. So you had Custa traded from the Dallas Fuel in exchange for Unco. So Unco moving from the Valiant to the Fuel, Custa going from the Fuel to the Valiant, and this one kind of perplexed me a little bit because I think like Custa wasn't getting enough time, but he was basically becoming like that vocal leader for Dallas Fuel. And I know a lot of people were like, well, wait a minute, what exactly is Unco bringing to the table that Custa didn't? Because like a lot of people were under the assumption that Unco wasn't one of the vocal leaders for the Valiant, when in fact he was, and a lot of people just didn't quite realize that. So, Unco going from team to team is trading one former Rogue alum for another. Now that he's, leaving soon, he has AKM for the Fuel. But all in all, we did see both of them, make their debut for these teams respectively. Both of them won, which is important to note. Both of them looked pretty good, too. So you had two players that were basically...
4-0.
I mean,
4-0.
Custa was basically looking for, more playtime. He's getting it. Unco, the Valiant are doing a ton of changes. We'll talk more about Valiant a few more teams down, but, they were looking at putting Kariv back to support line, which would have meant that Unco would not have been seeing more time, so Unco wanted to be traded. He wanted to kind of get maybe paired with Soon in a trade, but no one was looking for a support player on top of a Tracer player. They wanted one or the other, so he had to leave Soon. But I want to get your thoughts. Like, what do you think, like, these players are going to bring to their respective teams?
I mean, so the big thing about Custa going over to the Valiant, I think you nailed it on the head with as far as Kariv. It gives Custa and Kariv offer a lot of flexibility that maybe Unco couldn't give, as far as working with the support, like flexibility, because Valiant tend to mix things up. I mean, Kariv, yes, he was a support, but yes, he's also been on Soldier, and I pretty much Pharah. I think I saw him on Pharah last stage. So I mean, it just gives them a little bit more support, flexibility. I think though, like when I break this down, when I first saw this, I'm like, okay, I know the Valiant are basically top to bottom changing everything.
For the most part, yeah.
For the most part. The Dallas Fuel, I'm like, okay, so they're starting to get rid of people. They're done getting rid of people. The only move they made was trading Custa for Unco, and I'm like, with all the reports out there and all the turmoil of that team, I couldn't believe that this was the only thing. I thought this was the beginning for Dallas, and they didn't do anything else.
Right. It seems like for Dallas, they are expecting the world of OGE when he does come in to be the leader of that team. Whether or not that is going to pan out that way, we don't know. He's still serving a suspension for, account boosting. He'll be back, I'm pretty sure, in week 2 of this stage, so he should be back next week. So we'll get a good idea of what the Dallas Fuel is going to be looking like at that point. But yeah, I was kind of surprised because, like, we heard talks like maybe Seagull was looking to get traded, but, he couldn't find any solid offers, and that might have been because the Fuel were asking for too much in return. But, Dallas, they beat Shanghai yesterday. The new look of Shanghai Dragons, which is something we'll probably go more in depth on next week. But, looking at the other Texas counterpart, we did have the Houston Outlaws. They picked up Arhan, who is a DPS player formerly who had played for Meta Athena. And, Arhan, kind of going back to Apex days, was a Genji player. Now, I don't know if you were around on Twitter on April Fool's Day, but the Outlaws had tweeted, like, a t-shirt that had Arhan, lol, and, J lol KE. And it was the greatest thing I saw on April Fool's Day, and I want it to be a thing, and it might actually be a thing, so if they do actually come out with the shirt, I am definitely going to buy one. But Arhan was absolutely notorious when it came to Apex for pulling out his Dragon Blade and then dying instantly. So
that's what you wait.
that's
Wait,
what he was known
whoa.
for.
That's not what you're supposed to
No.
do? Because, I mean, if that's what you're supposed to do, I excel
No,
at
that's-
this.
you are a weeb Genji. So
Okay.
so when we look at the Outlaws, okay, this is something that we've brought up time and time again. There is one particular role on this team that their GM specifically says is not an issue, but all of the players say is an issue, and everyone knows what that role is at this point. It's obviously the Tracer role. Now, Arhan does play Tracer. Yes.
Uh-huh.
Is he a great Tracer? No. He is known for projectile DPS. So, with that being said, what do you think the Outlaws are going to do moving forward? Is this going to be a situation where they want to run dive, maybe with having Linkser on the Tracer and Arhan on the Genji? Are they going to have Linkser on the Genji and Arhan on the Tracer? Are we going to see anti-dive? Is Houston even going to know what to run? Because they seem very conflicted throughout Stage 2. But with the Stage 3 map pool, you know, we could see the return of anti-dive because we do have more J-Krat maps. So I don't know what to expect from Houston right now, but this particular sign-in kind of threw me off a little bit because of how the hero pools are going to be working out.
Okay, so I will tell you exactly how they're going to use him. They're not. He's going to sit on the bench. I mean, like, he'll be put in occasionally, here and there, ho-hum. But really, is he going to get any playtime? Are they going to bench Jake, who, for all intents and purposes, is the face of the league as a whole? Like, you hate to say it, but Jake's the face of the league. They're not going to bench him. Linkser, he's their actual best DPS. They're never going to bench him. So, he'll fit into the Clockwork role. I think this was more of a, we're signing this person so Clockwork can go farther down on the bench and he can join Mendo type of situation. I mean, I like it, and maybe his Tracer play has improved, and he can come in and play Tracer. But I think Houston dropped the ball a lot on this this off. Can we call it an off season? The week of, you know, picking up players, trades, stuff like that. They dropped the ball because there were some Tracer players out there available that changed teams, and Houston did not do anything about it. So to me, that signifies that they like where they're at without an actual Tracer player. So this is just more of a depth issue. I mean, look at the other signings that Houston has picked. So they've done two signings. They've signed Fact Fiction,
Right,
and Arhan. Fact Fiction has not played, and I don't see him playing. Period. Unless there's a situation where somebody has to be out. I don't see Arhan really getting much playtime. Maybe a map a week type of situation. Maybe. But I can't see him being a better Tracer player than, you know, Mendo. I mean, they're both kind of just flaky Tracers, from what I remember. I haven't seen Arhan play in a while. But I just don't see him playing.
Alright, well, there is another player out there that has been wanting to get more playtime, and he is going to find it with the LA Gladiators, that being Silk Thread. So you had Silk Thread going from the Valiant to the Gladiators. Valiant, you know, making a ton of moves, so, you know, Silk Thread, he actually did get a play for the Gladiators, and he does have quite a bit of flexibility on that DPS role, so I'm glad to see him getting some more playtime. But it feels like the Gladiators overall just are able to work in the different pieces better than the Valiant have. And, you know, the Valiant seem to be they want to be running this 12-man roster. They want to work as, like, a unit, basically. They haven't really shown to be a team in that regard, at least in that aspect, at least. But the Gladiators are not having that issue, and Silk Thread did have a pretty good show in here yesterday. But really, we need to talk about the Valiant if we're talking about the LA teams, because this is a team that made the most moves. So I'll just go through all of them because there was a lot that happened. And they did have, their transparency YouTube video, which was a special one that they did, kind of talking about, okay, why did we make these moves and whatnot. And the gist of it is well, we're moving this person over here, so then this person wouldn't really be seeing playtime, so then that person didn't want to stay with the team, they wanted to get playtime, so they moved elsewhere. Rinse, repeat, that's basically the gist of it. You don't need to watch the 15-minute video or however long it was. So, the Valiant, going from the top, they acquired Bunny from the Soul Dynasty. As I mentioned, there's a trade for Unco to the Fuel in exchange for Custa. They released Envy, who was their off-tank. Grim Reality, who was one of their bench DPS. I'm not going to say he was a DPS because he never really played. He transitioned to an assistant coach role for the team. As I mentioned, they transferred Silk Thread to the Gladiators. And then they also signed 2 players from Contenders. They signed KSF, who is a DPS player from Simplicity, who, not good. I don't know why he got signed out of the DPS players available from Contenders. That one was really, out of all of the sign-ins in this window, that one baffled me the most. But the other sign-in, the other sign-in that they made was one that I was happy with, and that was they signed Finzi, who is a flex tank from Orglis in Hungary. So, they were looking for a Korean Tracer player. They got Bunny. Bunny was in direct competition with Munchkin on the Dynasty for Tracer playtime, and Munchkin was slightly better. They were pretty close overall, but Munchkin was the better of the two and had a bit more flexibility. Envy, wasn't going to be seen at playtime because Space had turned to 18. And Space has kind of been, the person that they're trying to build the team around, essentially. He if you saw the games yesterday against the Dynasty, you probably saw the ridiculous stat line that he put up with the D.Va. And I can't remember the exact numbers, but it was at least, 70 kills and, 4 deaths. It was something absolutely absurd and astronomical. So yeah, out of all of the debuts in the Overwatch League, Space, by far, had the best debut for any team in the Overwatch League to date.
Wait, you're not going to go with Sinatra?
No, I would never go with Sinatra.
Okay, just checking. So the Valiant, basically, what Valiant is just gone. The Valiant, from 2 weeks ago is non-existent anymore. So the Valiant, this is, when you look at what the Valiant did, this is why I'm so upset with the Outlaws. They got Bunny, a Tracer player from Seoul. I don't think they got anything back. Seoul got nothing back in this. It wasn't a trade. They just kind of here, Valiant, take Bunny. Okay, so Houston could have come in, gotten that. Silkta, same thing. Transferred to the Gladiators for nothing. Another Tracer player. This is where Houston needed to step in. But with that aside, the changes the Valiant made, they realized what was going on. They realized they needed to make changes. And yes, the Fincy signing is good, because I saw him on a couple of matches with Ogreless, and he was awesome. I have not seen KSF, and from what you say,
you're not missing much.
I probably won't see him, but I love all the moves besides this that they made. Mm-hmm. I never like it when a player gets released. No, I will say that. So I feel bad for Envy. But, Grim Reality wasn't getting playtime, and he's like, you know what, maybe I can help out more as a coach. That's something, honestly, I see IDD QD doing with a Shock. More of a coach/face type situation. But, they got rid of Silkta, they brought in Bunny, they brought in Custa, they brought in Fincy. They have, the 18-year-old Wonder Kid. This is, so I've been searching for a second team to cheer for outside of the Mayhem. and the Valiant are it. I really like what the Valiant have done. I really like what they've done. I really like Bunny on the Tracer player. I really like Custer when he was on the Fuel, and I like him now when he's on the Valiant. I think Vinci and the 18-year-old Wonder Kid are gonna. I'm not even gonna use his name. He's the 18-year-old. Are really gonna work well together. They made some smart moves. They realized the roster they had wasn't working, and they needed to make overwhelming changes, and that's exactly what they did. And if you watched yesterday, it worked. I mean, yes, Soul is
trying
not
to play 4D chess to no avail.
okay. All right,
But yeah,
so
I will say this: Valiant overall, that new look that they gave looked really good. I like that they were put in. They're basically bringing their players like Kareev back to the support line. He was doing better there. His DPS, because he hadn't really done it in over a year, was fairly inconsistent. So it's back to the comfort picks here.
Mm-hmm.
So they just overall had a better look, I think.
Yeah, no, I like the LA Valiant. I think the LA say this now. Week 1, they're making the playoffs. Plain and simple, they're making the playoffs, especially now that it's at 4 teams. So, count it.
I'd say it's a little too early. Just
Nope.
It's one game. All right,
Come at me. Count it.
All right, so I'm going to breeze over some of these other teams real quick just because we haven't really seen the players yet. But York Excelsior did make a sign-in. They picked up Animo, who's a support player who played on Ardiant. The Shock picked up 2 players from X6 Gaming. They had signed Architect, and I know I'm going to butcher this name. It's like Choi Hyobin, who was a flex tank who also played on X6 Gaming. Dynasty had signed a support player, Gambler. He played on Blossom. And then, as I mentioned, they transferred Bunny to the Valiant. And then Shanghai, they released Undead after all of the TMZ-esque drama, which we're not going to go into it. It's literally too much. He is playing in Contenders, though. He did get picked up for one of the Chinese teams. So there is that. He did undergo an ID change. He's now Hypnos, if anyone wants to know. But they did sign a player out of Contenders, that being Damon, who is a DPS player that had played on Energy Esports, and we got to see him debut yesterday. We got to see him do a Widow duel against Effect, and, all in all, I would say that he was fairly serviceable. He wasn't getting completely shut out by Effect, despite, Effect, getting, I could tell, Effect was just not given any shit yesterday, because, when he came out, on that tunnel, he was super serious. He wasn't, he wasn't, shaking hands with anyone, on his way to the stage. He just looked so dead set. He's like, I do not want to lose to Shanghai, because there was a lot of buzz yesterday around the Dragons, and, deservedly so, because this was a completely different look from the Dragons overall. But, Damon, bringing the Tracer and the Widow, I'd say he looked fairly good, but, it's still really early on for this new look on the Shanghai Dragons. The comms has really been, it's a work in progress. And we could definitely see it yesterday, because Sky, aka Zhu Fanjun from Miraculous Youngster, finally an MY player on the Shanghai team, he was out of position and really not with the team quite a bit, and you had to chalk that up to communication. But I want to get your thoughts on Damon. He debuted, a fresh call-up from Contenders. How do you think he did yesterday?
All right. So it's hard to judge the Shanghai, the Seoul Dragons, as we shall be calling them.
There's only 3 Koreans.
All right, fair, but it's the majority of the Shanghai Dragons. The majority of them are Korean. It's hard to judge that team because there was a lot of skill I saw in the match yesterday, from Damon to Ado. I can never say it right. Ado, Sky, even Gaguri. Gaguri was a little bit on the I didn't love her diva, but it wasn't bad.
Okay, so
Um,
the most important thing to note though with Kagiri is that her stats were neck and neck with Siegel.
yes,
There was like no
yes,
difference between the two. So I mean that's really the biggest takeaway when you're looking at her overall performance.
yes. The thing is with the whole team is just that they weren't a team.
Right.
Like you saw so much skill in the individual performances, but they didn't work cohesively as a team. And they won't probably for a few weeks until they get to play together, because this is kind of a ragtag group that kind of got thrown together, and you never knew when they started practicing together due to visas, so on and so forth. um all of this kind of just uh, I love what the Shanghai Dragons are doing, and I think they're going to be good
Hmm.
with this team. It's they just need to learn to work as a team. And so Damon, yes, Damon played well. Ado played well. Sky played well, even though he was getting attacked literally every
He
group
was first
fight.
to death a lot.
Like he was being targeted, rightfully so. Um, it's just, yeah, the team's good. The team has skill. I will say this: they just need to work on working as a team together.
Again, a lot of that will just come down to, working on the comps a little bit. Just because, like, with Sky being out of position so much, it did lead into a lot of first picks and a lot of, man disadvantages. And, another thing that we saw from Shanghai was these really aggressive defensive spots where they were, like I think it was Volskaya, they were, like, on top of the museum. And then they also did it on another map, and it completely backfired.
No, all right. So they did it on two maps. They did it on Numbani.
Right,
And
the
they did
Numbani
it
one
on-
didn't work.
The Volskaya didn't work. Wait,
No, I think you got it backwards. I think the
all
Volskaya
right,
one
flip
worked
it.
on the
No, the
initial one, and then it
Volskaya
went back.
one worked.
And then the Numbani one just completely fell apart, and then they got the first capture.
Because both times, Effect is like, screw you guys.
Yeah, Effect
I'm gonna,
was like,
I'm gonna just get to the point and just chill there. Like, yeah, because on Volskaya, they got that, they killed them all, but Effect was on the point, and he actually almost got a tick
Mhm.
on the first point until they got back, and then they're like, okay, let's get back to the point. On Numbani, they actually did that and lost the first point, like on the initial attack. So yeah, no, it was. I mean, it's cool to see that kind of stuff, and I think they just wanted to take Dallas by surprise.
Right.
New team, new tactics, ho hum, and it just didn't work.
It's too cheeky. No, I won't say that. It's too high risk at that level. It might work once, but, like, the chances of it working, I mean, like, as you saw, like, it worked once out of the two times. But, like, I was surprised that they went back to it, even if it was a different map.
Yeah, no, it's something that you see in, hey, let's play arcade and try this.
Mhm.
So, yeah. But it was fun to watch on Twitch.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, guys. Well, let's go ahead and preview the remainder of Stage 3 Week 1. So, looking at tomorrow's games, that's Friday, April 6th, we have the LA Gladiators taking on the Dallas Fuel. We have the LA Valiant going up against the Shanghai Dragons. Seoul Dynasty facing the San Francisco Shock. So I'll start with the Gladiators and Fuel game. So, Fuel, they got a 4-0 win, or 3-1? Yeah, it was 3-1 against Shanghai.
Yeah, 3-1.
Gladiators, they looked alright. This one's kind of a tougher one to
It actually is, because Dallas
call.
looked semi-decent.
Yeah, they have looked better.
That hurts me to say, because I really want them to suck, because I spite Blazing Bob.
Yeah, basically, like, what I saw from the Gladiators yesterday is they don't know how to deal with the Sombra. But luckily for them, the Fuel don't really play all that much Sombra either, so this one could really go their way. I feel like, though, if the Fuel don't come out with the Sombra, or the Gladiators, just don't know how to deal with it. So let's say Fuel run the Sombra. I think the Fuel might actually win. But all in all, I think with the changes that the Gladiators have made, I think they'll have a better showing in this one. I think Fisher will come in and have more of an impact. I don't think that Effect is just going to get free reigns like he did against Shanghai earlier in the week. So I think with just the pressure that Fisher is going to bring in, I think the Gladiators should be able to win this one. I think Gladiators will end up taking this one 3-1. So, as I mentioned, we got the Valiant going up against the Dragons next. So, Valiant, very good performance against the Seoul Dynasty. They took that one 4-0. You have Shanghai Dragons, still kind of in their infancy with this new look roster. How do you think this one is going to shape up?
All right, so I professed my love for the Valiant earlier, and this is not going to affect this, but Valiant 4-0. I mean, I like what Shanghai's done, and I just, between what I saw yesterday and what is going to show up tomorrow, there's not enough time for them just today to be like, okay, we're going to get our shit together and work as a team. It's just not going to happen. And so I see the Valiant taking this one 4-0 pretty easily. I mean, if the Valiant 4-0 Seoul and don't 4-0 Shanghai, that's kind of like a, really? Did you really not 4-0 Shanghai? They haven't won a match. So I could see them going 4-0. At worst, 3-1 if they take the last map off. So, yeah, no, 4-0 on this one.
All right. Well, to end Friday, we have the Seoul Dynasty going up against the San Francisco Shock, and I have to say, I'm worried about this one. So, there are many reasons. One, the Dynasty, I don't know what they're doing. I don't know what lineup they're going to be running. I don't know if they're going to have Munchkin on the Sombra as opposed to Fleta, despite Fleta being a superior Sombra. But I do know the Shocker coming in and, they have Super. Super looked really good. He didn't have, the space level of play, but that's not to take anything away from Super, because Super had a really great debut in his own right. We saw Dante absolutely lighted up on the Sombra, or I guess lights out would be the better terminology, because it's kind of one of the voice lines.
That's true.
So, that being said, I think Seoul is going to hopefully play their A squad in this one. But, it's so hard to say, because it's I don't know if, maybe the Dynasty coaches are okay, well, maybe, the A squad's confidence is just shaken because of, how they've just kind of fallen apart going into, the last week going into the playoffs, because, they've just missed out in both occasions. So maybe they were just trying something new. I don't know. What I do know is they need to figure out how to deal with Dante, because Dante is really going to be the glue that is going to hold the Shock together in this Sombra meta while it's still happening. If it's going to go beyond, the first couple weeks, I don't know. But right now, Sombra is the key. And if Munchkin is on the Sombra for the Dynasty, they are not going to win. If Fleta is on the Sombra, they have a better shot. So I am really torn. I feel so conflicted because what I saw out of the Shock was the San Francisco Shock team that I've been waiting for since the start of the season. I knew Sinatraa coming in wasn't going to be the one that makes or breaks the team. It was going to be Super coming in, being able to flex to whatever role. We saw him on main tank. We're not seeing Nomi. Super bringing even more aggression than Nomi was bringing. I think this one's going to go to 5th game. I'm still going to give it to Seoul, but I am not confident in this one, just based off of what I saw in that Valiant series. But really, though, Sombra, deal with it or don't. I mean, if you don't, you're absolutely fucked right now. That's basically what it boils down to.
All right. So I jokingly messaged you earlier, but I kind of think I need to have an intervention here. I need to chalk you down from the from the Seoul roster decision ledge. I couldn't agree with you more on this. The Seoul decision making is just baffling, and it's their own worst enemy. I still to this day think they're probably New York's probably the most skilled roster in Overwatch. Seoul's number 2.
Absolutely top 3.
Yeah, I'd put
Koreans are
Seoul
top
as the
3.
number 2. I'd put Seoul as the second best skilled roster on the team in Overwatch League. Their decision making is bottom 3. It's just plain and simple. Like, their coaching decisions are trash.
Yeah, like I compared it to kind of like how the Shock were at the start of the season, because they weren't making any changes, and now, you know, the Dynasty are like, okay, like you and I have kind of talked about it in the past. Seoul has this mentality that they can basically kind of just like field whoever. And we've seen for 2 stages now, you know, they lose some maps early on that they shouldn't really be losing. And, you know, yesterday was a key example of that. And regardless of whether there's 3 teams in the playoffs or 4 teams in the playoffs, regardless of if you have an extra chance, like, they are lessening their opportunity to secure that playoff spot by not putting forth their best effort. Now, I don't know if they split it so they had, you know, one team, you know, scrimming for a certain, like, one team was scrimming for the Valiant, and then the other team was scrimming for the Shock. That might be. Maybe they don't want to have, you know, the same team having to scrim 6 or 7 maps, whatever number it would end up being. But, like, when I looked at the Valiant game, you know, they had Guido on the support line, who is not a support player. He was always a DPS main. He has not looked good. And I know they played Gambler, but, like, why wouldn't you play Ryuje Han in that case when Guido hasn't looked all that great? Like, that was the thing that perplexed me. Like, I don't have a problem, like, if they're fielding some of the B squad, but for them to not have at least one of their starting supports is really something that they can't afford to do.
Yeah, no, that's just... And maybe, I mean, there were rumblings that Seoul was going to sign another support to possibly, and one thing I saw was...
Gambler.
Yeah, Gambler, like, to replace Ryu Jaehong. I mean, I hate to say that, but it's something that, you know, I could see happening. And no, it wasn't Gambler.
Gambler plays Lucio and Mercy, so it would be Toby's spot.
Yeah, Cox is what I'm talking about. So, yeah, it's just one of those things that I just don't think Seoul knows what they want their starting 5 to be. They just don't. I mean, they know they want Fleta in there, and you want him on a projectile, because that's really, like, I'd prefer to have him on his Genji, but Sombra works too. And I'm baffled. I'm baffled to this day what Seoul is deciding to do.
Right, because, like, when you look at the Sombra play right now, Sombra Tracer has been pretty darn good. And when you factor in those 2 characters, like, Fleta would play the Sombra, and Munchkin would play, you know, the Tracer, and we didn't see that. So, I don't know. I'm super conflicted. I hope we see a different look than what we saw against the Valiant, but who knows. Either way, Dante is going to be the player to look out for in this series, one way or another. So,
yes.
Moving on to Saturday. To kick things off, we have your boys, the Florida Mayhem, looking to not get 4-0'd, just like my team. Going up against the Philadelphia Fusion, who is playing without EQO because he was suspended for, you know, a racial gesture that he had made on his stream. But, you know, they still have a very deep DPS line. So how do you think this one is going to play out?
I mean, I think this is actually closer than some might think. I don't think the Mayhem are going to win. Like, I'll get that out there right now. The Mayhem are not going to win this one. But I don't think it's going to be a 4-0 in Philadelphia's favor. I think it will be a 3-1, maybe even a 3-2 if we're lucky. I just say a player, like, from the matches I saw him play tonight wasn't game breaking. I think it more depends on logics. And because, I mean, like you said, EQ is out. but it's not like they have a horrible replacement for him. So like
Yeah, they'll just play Snowblow.
yeah, like they're just like, okay, we'll put him in. Okay. So it's not going to be the end of the world for them. I think it's going to be a 3-1 Philadelphia. I mean, Philadelphia's proven they're feisty, they're resilient. They're actually playing right now against the Boston Uprising, and it's the Sombra. It's really who can play Sombra better at this point, or at least that's what it seems like. So, who knows? I think who do they have? Carpe's on Sombra right now for Philadelphia. So we'll see how he does on it, and go from there. I mean, they had Tavik. Florida had Tavik on Sombra, and it was it was iffy.
Even though he's been the Sombra player in the past for him too.
He has, yeah, and it's just like I was trying to explain. So one of my buddies got back into Overwatch, and I was trying to explain Tavik, like he watched the Overwatch League for like the first time yesterday.
Okay.
And he's like, I know nobody. He's like, I've heard of Seagull before. He's like, from Twitch. I'm like, yeah. I'm like the Tavik is like the OG star of Twitch from back in the day. Like he was the original, like basically like, I think he won like 3 like tournaments in a row on 3 different teams. So I'm like, he's probably one of the best DPS players in Overwatch, but he's not the best at any individual. And that's the problem with Tavik. It's like, I love Tavik, but he doesn't excel at one specific character. He's just real good at a bunch of different characters. And that's not what Florida Mayhem need. They need somebody who's awesome at like 2 or 3 different characters, not someone who's good at 7 different characters. And that's going to be the downfall, and I think they're going to come to realize that and put in Seiya and Logix eventually and bench Tavik. I hate to say it as a Mayhem fan, but they're probably going to have to bench him, and if they do that against Philadelphia, they have a chance, but not really. It's 3-1. It's 3-1 Philly.
Yeah, Mayhem have kind of always struggled against those more aggressive teams, which the Philadelphia have proven to be. So whether or not they can deal with the aggression remains to be seen. And I mean, if they can if they can deal with it, like they might, fare better in this one. I still think the Fusion should be able to win this one. But the next match we have on Saturday, that game 2, we have the Houston Outlaws going up against the Boston Uprising. Okay, so Boston has been a team that historically has started really slow in the stages. They seem to pick up a lot of momentum kind of in that mid-season. Houston, given the map pool, I think they'll still have the edge in this one. I'm pretty sure they 4-0'd Boston the last time they played, and I think I'm going to expect the same in this case. I think Houston will come in, get another 4-0. I think Boston will still be off to a slow start. I'm still not completely sold on Keldix on the Lucio, whether they're running dive or not. That's kind of been the weak link of the team overall. But the tank line in this one is really going to be the battle. Gamzu has been playing really good for the Uprising on the Winston. But you have Muma on the other side, who has been one of the standout tanks as well. So I still think like the frontline edge would go to the Outlaws between Evan Muma and Cool Matt. So I'm going to give them the edge. I think they will take this 4-0. I don't think the Uprising have figured out how to get off to a better start. They always seem a little bit slow coming out of the gates. But to cap off the week, we have a big showdown.
Yep.
Basically the match that New York Excelsior were expecting for the Stage 2 finals, which didn't happen, thanks to, a number of different factors, with Philadelphia, winning out and, 2 other teams kind of dropping the ball. We have New York Excelsior going up against the London Spitfire. And before I get your analysis on this one, just note, every time these teams have played, it has gone to 5 maps. So, is this one going to another map 5?
No. I'm calling that right now. I'm saying it's not going to. I think this is the game of, might be even the game of the stage, just because it's the two best teams.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know Philly beat London last stage to go to the finals. London's a better team than they just are. I still see New York winning this one 3-1. New York it's hard to cheer or bet against New York at this point because they've shown literally nothing to show any form of weakness. Like, they lost to London stage 1. That was the biggest weakness they've ever shown.
Right.
And outside of that specific battle, they've shown nothing. They've shown no, like, hiccups or we're going to do this, we're going to do that. It's just New York dominating. So I'm calling New York 3-1.
Yeah, this one for me is always an interesting tale because you have both of these teams that have picked up a win over the other. I think New York has the edge 2-1 right now, if I'm not mistaken. It might be 1-1. I don't know. It's one of the two. Regardless, though, when you look at it, both of these teams are very flexible in their own right. Libero probably has the most flexibility out of everyone in the league right now, and probably has the highest skill level at that flexibility role on various heroes than anyone else in the league right now, which we saw in full display in the Stage 2 finals. And when I look at London, I don't think they have as much adaptability as New York has, because, you know, we've seen in the past New York, when we are getting into that time bank situation, they give you a different look with every attack in the time bank. And we haven't really seen London been able to do that same thing. Normally they're still like trying to use the same strats that they've been running that has worked, which might not always work to the same success given that they're, you know, working with a smaller, you know, time window. So I think New York is going to be the favorite to win this one. Will it go to a map 5? It's hard to say. I think New York has so much momentum at this point, and it's basically at this point like New York's just gonna come out and like whatever the meta is, they're just like, I don't care. Like, we've seen them on Volskaya like throughout all of Stage 2. They're like, oh, you're gonna run Sombra? That's cute. We're not going to do that. We don't need to. Like, we don't need to have that crutch on our team, and we probably won't even see them run Sombra in this stage, despite it being the new hotness, as everyone's claiming how OP she is and whatnot. But New York is just, they're able to basically force their will on these other teams, and it doesn't matter who it is. And, you know, we've seen London be able to, you know, have Soul's number, but, you know, they are a more passive team, and when you look at New York, yes, they can play passive like Soul, but they can also play aggressive, they can also play defensive, they can play all these different styles, and then when you just factor all of that in, you don't know what approach New York is going to take, which is why, you know, they've only lost 2 games throughout this entire season. So, you know, if you're a New York fan, I think you can feel pretty confident going into this one as well.
Oh, yeah, you totally can. I mean, New York, it seems like Pine's back, too. He's gotten over his, but with, you know, he had some depression issues being away from home. He played today, so it kind of seems like he's back. He's worked out some things, which is good for him. Yeah, it's good for him. You know, I'm proud of him for getting back. You know, I've not been the biggest Pine supporter in the world, but, you know, getting back from something like that is huge. So, you know, you get a situational player like Pine, because really, Pine's a situational player. He's not somebody who's going to be in your starting lineup every single map. To have someone that good be a situational player is just like, all right, fine, just take the map from us. So, yeah, no, I really think it's just gonna dominate this one.
All right, well, that's pretty much gonna do it for us. So before we close out the show, is there anyone in particular that you want to shout out from the community?
I don't think there's really anyone I really want to shout out from. No, actually, I didn't do this last week. I want to give a shout out to you. Because you were on Around the Payload.
I was.
the show with Blevins, and you were on with, I can't remember who else you were on with. And
Was the runner-up.
yes, and that's key, is the runner-up. So everyone from the Overwatch League show, the Overwatch League Network show. So you, has Slambo been on it?
Mm-hmm.
Yep, Slambo's been on it. Spider's been on it, and you're the only one to come away with the big W. I'm giving you props for beating them. Now, Blevins, you're missing one person from this little podcast network to come on and get the W.
Well, two at this point, technically.
Yeah, so with the Heroes Never Die, we can go 2-0.
I like it.
If we do this. So just saying, it's out there. But I'm giving the shout out to you for winning around the payload and dominating that stuff.
Yeah, I was pretty fierce.
You were a
brought the
force to
fight.
be reckoned with.
And of course, like after that, Spider's like, "Oh well, you didn't face any, analysts from the desk or anything like that."
No,
I'm like,
right. Spider
"Excuses."
did get the short end of the stick,
Yeah.
fighting an actual
the thing
Overwatch
is,
analyst.
the thing is with that show, like you don't really have a say on who is on the show and who isn't. But yes, that's just how it worked out. For me, though, I want to, since we did talk about kind of like a tease of a new show coming out very soon, I want to give a shout out to Lemon Kiwi, who is going to be the one that is hosting the new interview series for Overwatch Contenders Daily. So that's part of Overwatch League Daily Show. I believe they're doing like their own separate feed for that one, but that's going to be another great source of information and analysis and, interviews and discussions for contenders. I don't know if they're covering all of Contenders or if they're doing specific regions, but I'm really excited to see what they're doing with that one because, we do also cover Tier 2 stuff as well on OWLN. But shout out to Lemon Kiwi. I'm greatly looking forward to seeing what you bring with that partnership with The Daily Show.
Yeah. That'll be good. I'll listen to it.
All right, well, that is going to lead us into our closing notes as, we get ready to get out of here and, go watch Overwatch League. So, Edinar, why don't you go ahead and let everyone know where they can get a hold of us over on the social media?
All right, so you can reach us on email at hndoverwatch@gmail.com. You can reach us on Twitter at hndoverwatch. Obviously, we're on Twitch. If you're not in our live stream, I don't know what's wrong with you, but you can see us over at twitch.tv/OWLN show. We did hit Twitch affiliate, so you can support the show by subscribing to our Twitch channel and unlock our network emoticon. So thanks again to everyone who's been watching the shows live and coming to harass us and throwing up emotes. If you'd like to catch us live, we're on 3 nights a week. Well, I'm not Totem, the podcast.
Yeah, I'm the only one
person.
on 3 nights a week.
He is on Overwatch League Network Monday nights at 7 p.m. Pacific. And then the Overwatch League Network, the Back Cap, which is on Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Pacific. And then you have Heroes Never Die, the show that you're listening to presently, is at 5 p.m. Pacific, all on Twitch. And then we'll be...
Our game night thing is coming up soon. So...
Yep.
I'm just going to get into it right now. That's April 21st. That's a Saturday, 7 p.m. Pacific time. So going forward, I might add, more Saturdays to the calendar for game nights. I'm not sure. I want to do something a more, coachable approach so players can, learn the different roles and whatnot, or just play in a more controlled environment. I don't know if that's going to be something I'm going to do, every week, but might have more details for that soon. Just because I know a lot of people are kind of wanting to learn... work with more of a team-oriented look overall. So, April 21st, next game night, join us. It'll be a good time.
Yep. And then, all right, so we have other places you can reach us. So you can reach us on Discord. That's probably the best place to reach us if you want to talk outside of, during our shows, is on Discord at discord.me/OWLN show. And then we also have YouTube, so the Overwatch League Network. So we're getting close to the custom URL. If you could help out by subscribing to our channel, greatly appreciated. All our podcast episodes, top plays, which have gotten a lot easier, and other videos can be found there. Totem, where can they find you?
Well, you can find me over on the Twitter. That is that little blue bird. Mostly trolling fellow Overwatch podcasters, or talking scary movies, comics, or whatever.
Trash
that
talking
is
the Soul Dynasty.
well, yeah. I mean, that was yesterday, kind of. Because yeah, questionable decisions. That's another story for another day. But that's at Totally Drunk CTR. I also have a Twitch channel. And you know, I'm going to repurpose a line that I used on the back cap. You know, it is looking, you know, for content just as much as the Shanghai Dragons are looking for a win. That is at twitch.tv/TotallyDrunk. If I'm not there, which I probably won't be, I'm usually on this channel at twitch.tv/OWLN show. But Adenar, where can people find you over on the social media?
Well, you can find me on the Twitter sphere at Adenar Overwatch. I tweet everything from, so I mix between Overwatch and Star Wars. So I hit the super nerd fandom of video games and Star Wars. So yeah, that's where you can reach me at, over at the Twitter sphere. I don't stream yet, but I actually am been contemplating it. Actually, you know,
That's a step.
the drinking streams for Overwatch have been calling my name.
I like it. Alright, guys. Well, that is going to do it for us here tonight on Heroes Never Die. Again, this has been episode 105. And that number keeps getting bigger and bigger. But that is going to do it for us tonight. We will see you back here on Monday for Overwatch League Network. But for now, that'll do it. And yeah, guys, take care. Enjoy the
Have a
rest
good
of the
one.
Overwatch League. And get hyped, because, you know, next week we got the event.
Well, I'm just gonna point this out real quick. Someone got past point B on Blizzard World.
What?
I know,
You heard
and
it
it
here
is
first.
shocking. Shocking someone got past point B. So,
Fair enough. Alright, guys, have a good night.
have a good one.
Thank you for listening to Heroes Never Die. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at HND Overwatch and join us on Discord at discord.me/OWLN show.